You're about to hear a story about a woman who discovered the worst betrayal imaginable. But instead of running away, she did something that nobody expected. She stayed. She smiled. She planned the wedding of her dreams. And then she destroyed two men in front of everyone they loved. Her name is Emily Richardson. She's 29 years old. And what she did that day will teach you something critical about revenge, about trust, and about what happens when good people decide to become monsters. 3 weeks before her wedding, Emily found out that her fiancé Michael was sleeping with her best friend James. Not once. Not a mistake. But repeatedly, deliberately, for months. While they planned the wedding together. While James stood beside her and lied to her face. While Michael proposed to her with a ring he bought while seeing her best friend. Most women would leave. Most women would expose them immediately. Most women would burn the whole thing down right then and there. But Emily didn't. Emily did something worse. Emily decided to let them win the game for exactly 3 weeks longer, while she set a trap that would destroy both of them completely. What follows is the most calculated, the most brilliant, and the most devastating act of revenge you've ever heard. But it's also a warning about what happens when you choose revenge over healing, about what you become when you decide that destruction is justice, and about the price you pay when you win the battle but lose yourself in the process. If you've ever been betrayed by someone you loved, if you've ever fantasized about revenge, if you've ever wondered what you would actually do if your fiancé cheated on you with your best friend, this story is for you. Let's begin. Emily Richardson found out on a Tuesday morning at 7:43 a.m. She was looking for Michael's phone charger. They had been engaged for 6 months. The wedding was in 3 weeks. Emily had already sent the final head count to the caterer. Emily had already paid the deposit on the venue. Emily had already ordered the dress she had dreamed about since she was a little girl. Emily found Michael's phone on the nightstand. Emily saw one notification from James Patterson, her best friend since childhood. The message said, "Last night was incredible. We need to be more careful though. Emily can't find out." Emily's hands went numb. Emily opened the messages. There were hundreds of them. 6 months of messages. 6 months of her best friend and her fiancé describing exactly what Emily had been terrified to know. Michael had been sleeping with James. But it wasn't an affair. It was a relationship. Michael loved James. James loved Michael. They had plans to run away together after the wedding. Michael had been planning to disappear from Emily's life the morning after saying, "I do." Emily sat on the bed and didn't move for 3 hours. Emily read the messages over and over. Emily understood that her entire life was a lie. And then Emily did something unexpected. Emily didn't cry. Emily didn't scream. Emily didn't leave. Emily simply picked up the phone and texted Michael, "We need to talk tonight." When Michael came home from work, he found Emily sitting on the couch. Emily had Michael's phone in her hand. "I know," Emily said. "I know about you and James." Michael's face went white. Michael's entire body froze. Michael tried to deny it, but Emily had already read the messages. Michael tried to make excuses, but there were no excuses that could make this okay. "I want a divorce," Michael said. "I'm sorry. I love James. I can't marry you." Emily looked at Michael for a long time without speaking. "You're going to help me plan the most perfect wedding that has ever existed," Emily said. "You and James are going to work together. You're going to make every single detail absolutely flawless. And then, on the day of the wedding, I'm going to destroy you both." Michael stared at Emily like she had lost her mind. "What?" Michael asked. "You heard me," Emily said. "You're going to live the next 3 weeks in absolute terror, knowing that I know everything, knowing that your secret is about to be exposed, knowing that your life is about to end. And you're going to smile the whole time." "Or what?" Michael asked. "Or I expose everything to your family, your company, and everyone you know right now," Emily said. "You're going to help me plan this wedding. You're going to include James. You're going to make it perfect. Because if you don't, I'm going to destroy you before the wedding even happens." Michael had no choice. Michael was terrified that Emily would expose him. Michael agreed. Emily hired a private investigator. Emily hired a photographer and videographer with explicit instructions to document everything. Emily even befriended the wedding planner and told her the truth. For 3 weeks, Emily watched. Emily documented. Emily recorded every secret meeting between Michael and James. Emily captured every kiss, every touch, every moment of their love in high definition. Michael and James thought they were fooling Emily. Michael and James thought Emily was oblivious to what they were doing. Michael and James had no idea that Emily was building a case against them. But here's the thing nobody talks about. Living under someone's psychological manipulation is torture. Michael and James spent 3 weeks knowing that Emily knew everything. They spent 3 weeks wondering what Emily was planning. They spent 3 weeks in absolute terror. Michael stopped sleeping. Michael lost 10 pounds. Michael looked like a ghost walking through his own life. James developed a nervous tic. James couldn't concentrate at work. James kept making mistakes because his mind was consumed with the knowledge that his secret was about to be exposed. Emily, meanwhile, was eerily calm. Emily went to work. Emily smiled. Emily acted like nothing was wrong. Emily was the most convincing actress that either of them had ever seen. The rehearsal dinner was scheduled for the night before the wedding. Emily had booked a private room at an exclusive restaurant. The guest list was small but powerful. Emily's family, Michael's family, James's family, close friends, the wedding party. Emily made a final decision. She would expose everything at the rehearsal dinner. She would give them one last night with their families. And then she would destroy them all in front of the people they loved most. The rehearsal dinner started normally. People gave toasts. People talked about the happy couple. People celebrated the love between Emily and Michael. Then Emily stood up. "I want to thank everyone for being here," Emily said. "I especially want to thank Michael and James for planning such a beautiful wedding. They've spent so much time together these past few weeks. They've developed quite a special bond." Emily smiled. The room went quiet because they could sense that something was coming. "I'd like to show everyone something," Emily said. "Something that Michael and James have created together." The lights dimmed. The screen descended. The first images were innocent. Michael and James looking at flowers, discussing cake designs. But then the images changed. The images showed Michael and James kissing. The images showed Michael and James touching each other in ways that lovers touch. The images showed the full extent of their affair displayed in high definition. Michael's mother gasped. Emily's mother put her hand over her mouth. James's father's face went purple. Then Emily played the audio. The recording captured Michael and James discussing running away together after the wedding. The recording captured Michael saying, "As soon as we say the vows, we're done. We'll leave town and start our new life together." The recording captured James saying, "What about Emily?" The recording captured Michael saying, "Emily doesn't matter. She's just the cover story. You're my real life." The room erupted in chaos. Michael's mother left. James's father started screaming. Emily's mother was crying. The wedding planner was standing in the corner, stone-faced. Emily sat quietly and watched it all unfold. When the noise died down, Emily looked directly at Michael. "The wedding is cancelled," Emily said. "Everyone here now knows the truth. Your families know. Your friends know. By tomorrow, your employers will know. By next week, everyone in this city will know." Michael tried to stand. Emily grabbed his wrist. "But before you go," Emily said, "I want you to understand something. I knew about you and James for 3 weeks. I let you plan this wedding knowing that I was going to destroy you. Every single moment you spent with him, every single moment you thought you were fooling me, I was recording it. I was documenting it. And now everyone you love will see it." Michael's face went completely pale. Michael understood in that moment that his life was over. What happened in the weeks and months following the rehearsal dinner was far more catastrophic than Emily had anticipated. Emily had planned the destruction perfectly. But Emily hadn't planned for the collateral damage that would follow. Michael's company found out about the affair within 24 hours. The CEO called Michael into his office and told him that his services were no longer required. The CEO didn't even give Michael the courtesy of a 2-week notice. The CEO simply said, "Clear your desk and leave the building. We don't employ people who engage in this kind of behavior." Michael tried to explain that his personal life shouldn't affect his professional standing. But the company had a morality clause in their employee handbook. The CEO made it clear: affair with a colleague's best friend, deliberate deception, manipulation. These were grounds for immediate termination. Michael's family cut off contact with him. Michael's mother didn't speak to him for 3 years. Michael's father removed Michael's name from the will. Michael's younger sister refused to acknowledge him at family events. Michael became a pariah in his own family. Michael's mother wrote him a letter that said, "I don't know who you are anymore. The son I raised would never have done this. The man who lied to Emily for 6 months is a stranger to me. I need you to understand that you are no longer welcome in this family until you have done the deep work necessary to understand what you did and why you did it." Michael kept that letter and read it every single day for 2 years. James's situation was infinitely worse. James's father, who had built his company from nothing, had intended to pass the business to James. James had been groomed since childhood to take over the family enterprise. James had worked there for 15 years. James had been promised that the business would be his. But the day after the rehearsal dinner, James's father called a family meeting. James's father stood up and announced, in front of all of James's siblings, that James was no longer his son. James's father said, "I have disowned James. James is no longer part of this family. If any of you speak to James, you will be cut off as well." James's mother wouldn't take his calls. James's siblings blocked him on social media. James's cousins, who he had grown up with, suddenly refused to acknowledge him in public. But the financial devastation was worse than the emotional devastation. James's father sued James for breach of trust, claiming that James had used company resources for personal gain. James's father accused James of stealing from the company. James's father hired lawyers to investigate whether James had embezzled money. It took 2 years of litigation, but James was eventually exonerated of the embezzlement charges. But by that point, James had spent $300,000 in legal fees. James had to sell his apartment to pay his lawyer. James had to take a job as a server at a restaurant because no one in his industry would hire him. But the worst thing that happened to James, worse than the family disownment, worse than the financial ruin, worse than the legal battles, was Michael. On the night of the rehearsal dinner, after the chaos had settled and after everyone had left the restaurant, James waited for Michael outside. James thought that Michael would come to him. James thought that despite the exposure, despite the destruction of their reputations, Michael would still want to run away together. James had already packed his bags. James had already booked a flight to Portland. James had already secured a job offer at a restaurant in Portland. James had prepared their new life, expecting that Michael would show up and they would leave together that night. Michael didn't show up. Michael called James at 2 a.m. Michael's voice was cold and distant. "I can't do this," Michael said. "I can't leave. I need to stay and try to fix things with my family. I need to rebuild my career. I need space." "Michael," James said, "they've disowned you. Your company fired you. There's nothing to rebuild. We have to go now. We have to start our new life." "I need to be alone," Michael said. "I need time to figure things out. I can't be with you right now." And then Michael hung up the phone. James waited at the airport for 3 hours, thinking that Michael would still come. James sat in the airport terminal and watched the clock tick down until his flight started boarding. James stood up and walked to the gate. James boarded the plane alone. James cried the entire flight to Portland. James cried because he understood, with perfect clarity, that Michael had used him. Michael had been willing to destroy his marriage, destroy his family, destroy his career, for James. But Michael was not willing to actually leave with James. Michael was not willing to follow through on the promises that he had made. James was left alone in Portland with nothing but the knowledge that the man he loved had abandoned him at the exact moment when he needed him most. The next 3 years were the darkest years of James's life. James worked as a server in Portland. James lived in a small apartment with 3 roommates. James was clinically depressed. James was taking medication. James was seeing a therapist 3 times a week. James was barely functional. James's therapist asked him repeatedly, "Why don't you reach out to Michael? Why don't you try to talk to him?" And James would say, "Because Michael made his choice. Michael chose to leave me instead of choosing to be with me. I'm not going to beg him. I'm not going to chase him. I'm done." But the truth was that James wasn't done. James was consumed with thoughts of Michael. James would sometimes drive by Michael's apartment, knowing that Michael had moved to a new state but still needing to feel connected to him. James would sometimes look up Michael's social media to see if Michael had posted anything. James was stalking the man he loved through the internet because he couldn't let go. 2 years into his time in Portland, James attempted suicide. James took a bottle of sleeping pills and lay in his bed, expecting not to wake up. But James woke up 17 hours later when his roommate, concerned that James hadn't come out of his room, called 911. James spent 6 weeks in a psychiatric hospital. James was diagnosed with severe depression and borderline personality disorder. James was prescribed medication. James was put on suicide watch. When James got out of the hospital, James made a decision. James was going to move away from Portland. James was going to move away from the country entirely. James moved to Thailand. James found a job teaching English. James built a new life on the other side of the world, as far away from Michael as it was possible to be. But even on the other side of the world, in a different time zone, in a different country, with a different life, James still thought about Michael every single day. Now let's talk about what Michael did. Michael left the state. Michael moved to Denver. Michael found a new job at a different company. Michael rented an apartment. Michael started going to therapy. Michael's therapist helped him understand what he had done. Michael's therapist helped him see that he had betrayed Emily. Michael's therapist helped him see that he had abandoned James. Michael's therapist helped him see that he had hurt everyone in his life. Michael spent the first year of his new life in complete isolation. Michael didn't date. Michael didn't make new friends. Michael went to work and went home. Michael spent his evenings in his apartment, alone with his thoughts. Michael wrote letters to Emily. Michael never sent them. But Michael wrote them anyway, trying to explain, trying to apologize, trying to make sense of what had happened. In one letter, Michael wrote, "I hurt you in a way that I can never fully apologize for. I spent 6 months lying to your face. I spent 6 months planning to leave you at the altar. I spent 6 months being in love with your best friend while asking you to marry me. There is no apology that could ever be sufficient. I took your trust and I destroyed it. And I'm sorry for that. Not because I got caught. Not because I'm afraid of the consequences. But because I finally understand what I did to you." Michael never sent that letter either. 3 years after the rehearsal dinner, Michael met someone. Her name was Sarah. Sarah didn't know about Michael's past. Michael eventually told her the truth. Sarah was patient. Sarah was kind. Sarah decided to give Michael a second chance. Michael and Sarah got married. Michael and Sarah had a child. Michael and Sarah built a life together. But Michael was never fully present in that life. Michael was always carrying the knowledge of what he had done to Emily. Michael was always carrying the knowledge of how he had abandoned James. Michael was always wondering what would have happened if he had made different choices. Michael sometimes wondered if James was okay. Michael sometimes thought about reaching out to James. But Michael knew that any contact with James would only cause more pain. Michael knew that James had moved on. Michael knew that the best thing he could do was stay away. But here's the thing about Emily that nobody talks about. Emily didn't actually win. Emily got her revenge. Emily destroyed Michael and James. Emily exposed their affair to everyone they loved. Emily did exactly what she had planned to do. But Emily also destroyed something inside herself in the process. Emily went to therapy. Emily's therapist helped her process the betrayal. But Emily's therapist also helped her process what she had done. The deliberate manipulation, the calculated cruelty, the fact that she had planned someone's destruction for 3 weeks and executed it flawlessly. Emily's therapist asked her, Do you feel better? Do you feel healed? And Emily's honest answer was, no, I feel worse. Emily realized that revenge didn't actually heal the pain of betrayal. Emily realized that exposing Michael and James didn't make her feel better about what they had done to her. Emily realized that watching them suffer didn't undo the hurt that they had caused her. Emily realized that she had spent 3 weeks focused entirely on their destruction, and in doing so, she had neglected her own healing. Emily's therapist said something that changed everything. You got justice, but you didn't get healing. Justice and healing are not the same thing. You can have justice without healing, and you can have healing without justice, but you can't have real peace unless you have both. Emily realized that she had only achieved half of what she needed to achieve. Emily had achieved justice, but Emily hadn't achieved healing. Emily realized something even more disturbing. She had enjoyed it. Emily had enjoyed planning the destruction. Emily had enjoyed executing the plan. Emily had enjoyed watching Michael and James suffer. And that realization terrified her because it meant that she was capable of darkness that she didn't know she possessed. 5 years after the rehearsal dinner, Emily is now 34 years old. Emily is not married. Emily is not engaged. Emily is living her life alone. Emily has been in relationships since Michael. But Emily sabotages every single one of them. Emily has been in a relationship with a man named David who loved her completely and was faithful to her completely. But Emily couldn't trust him. Emily was constantly looking for signs that he was cheating on her. Emily was constantly accusing him of infidelity that he wasn't committing. Emily eventually pushed David away because she couldn't trust him, even though he had given her no reason not to trust him. David told Emily when he left, I'm not Michael. I'm not going to cheat on you. I'm not going to betray you. But you won't let me be faithful to you. You won't let me love you. You're so traumatized by what Michael did that you're destroying any chance of happiness with someone who actually loves you. Emily has been in therapy for 5 years now. Emily talks about the betrayal. Emily talks about the revenge. Emily talks about what it felt like to deliberately destroy 2 people. Emily talks about the cost of that destruction. Emily has come to understand something important over these past 5 years. She will probably never be in a healthy relationship again. This is not something that Emily says lightly. This is something that Emily has had to accept through years of therapy, through failed relationships, through countless hours of introspection and self-examination. Emily's capacity to trust has been so fundamentally damaged by what Michael and James did that she might never be able to trust another person completely. Emily understands now that betrayal doesn't just hurt in the moment. Betrayal leaves scars that can last a lifetime. Emily tried to have a relationship with a man named David 2 years ago. David was kind. David was faithful. David was everything that Michael was not. David never gave Emily a single reason to doubt him. David was completely transparent about his whereabouts, his friendships, his communications. David was the opposite of Michael in every way. But Emily couldn't trust him. Emily would lie awake at night wondering if David was cheating on her. Emily would go through David's phone when he was asleep. Emily would accuse David of flirting with waitresses. Emily would interrogate David about conversations he had with his female co-workers. Emily was constantly looking for proof that David was betraying her, even though he wasn't. One night, David finally said to Emily, I can't do this anymore. I'm not Michael. I've never been unfaithful to you. I've never given you a reason to doubt me. But you won't let me be faithful to you. You won't let me love you. You're so traumatized by what Michael did that you're destroying any chance of happiness with someone who actually loves you. Emily cried when David left. Emily cried because she understood in that moment that her revenge hadn't just cost her the opportunity to be with Michael. Her revenge had cost her the opportunity to be with anyone. Emily's revenge had taken away her ability to have a future with someone new. Emily works as a therapist now. This is not a coincidence. Emily became a therapist specifically because she needed to make meaning out of what had happened to her. Emily became a therapist specifically because she needed to help other people avoid the mistakes that she made. Emily works specifically with people who have been betrayed by loved ones. Emily works with people who are navigating the pain of infidelity and broken trust. Emily works with people who are contemplating revenge. Emily works with people who are in the darkest place, the place where Emily was when she found out about Michael and James. Emily is exceptionally good at her job. Emily is good at her job because she understands the pain intimately. Emily is good at her job because she understands the desire for revenge in a way that therapists who haven't experienced betrayal can never understand. Emily is good at her job because she has been where her clients are, and she knows what it's like to want to destroy someone. But Emily also uses her job to teach people something that nobody taught her: that revenge is not healing. Emily teaches people that justice and healing are different things. Emily teaches people that you can absolutely have justice without healing. Emily teaches people that you can absolutely have healing without justice. But Emily teaches people that you cannot have peace unless you have both justice and healing. This is the critical insight that Emily wishes someone had taught her 5 years ago. Emily tells her clients during their first session, "I'm going to tell you about what I did. I'm going to tell you about my revenge. And I'm going to tell you why it didn't work." Emily tells her clients, "I got my revenge. I destroyed the people who hurt me. I exposed their secrets in front of everyone they loved. I planned it meticulously. I executed it flawlessly. I watched them suffer. I watched their families disown them. I watched their careers end. I watched their lives fall apart." Emily pauses and looks directly at her client. "And you know what?" Emily continues. "It felt good for about 5 seconds. It felt like justice. It felt like the universe had balanced itself. It felt like I had finally won." Emily's voice gets quieter. "And then it felt empty. And now, 5 years later, I'm still traumatized. I'm still unable to trust. I'm still unable to be in a healthy relationship. I'm still processing the betrayal. And I'm also processing the fact that I became someone capable of calculating cruelty. Because revenge didn't heal me. Revenge just spread my pain around and made it bigger." Emily's clients always ask her the same question: "Do you regret it? Do you wish you hadn't done it?" And Emily always gives the same honest answer: "I don't know. That's the truth. I don't know if I regret it or not. Some days I think that exposing them was the right thing to do. Some days I think that I went too far. But I don't know if I regret it, because I don't know if there was a better choice available to me at that time." Emily sometimes thinks about Michael and James. Emily sometimes wonders if they're okay. Emily has Googled them both multiple times, hoping to find evidence of their recovery, hoping to find evidence that her destruction of them led to something good. Emily found out through mutual acquaintances that Michael is married with a child and living in Colorado. Emily found out that Michael is working at a legitimate company and that he seems to be doing well on the surface. But Emily also knows that Michael is probably traumatized. Emily knows that Michael probably carries the knowledge of what he did, and what Emily did to him, for the rest of his life. Emily knows that Michael probably has trust issues in his current marriage. Emily knows that Michael probably has nightmares about the rehearsal dinner. Emily found out through the same mutual acquaintances that James moved to Thailand and is still there. Emily found out that James is teaching English and that he seems to be stable. Emily found out that James attempted suicide once but recovered and is now on medication that seems to be helping. But Emily also knows that James probably still thinks about Michael every single day. Emily knows that James probably carries the torch of that lost love for the rest of his life. Emily knows that James probably wonders what would have happened if Michael had shown up to the airport. Emily knows that James probably wonders if Michael still thinks about him. Emily sometimes thinks about reaching out to both Michael and James and apologizing for what she did. Emily has written apology letters to both of them. Emily has never sent the letters. But Emily also knows that she can't undo what happened. Emily knows that her apology wouldn't actually matter to them. Emily knows that they have their own healing to do, separate from anything Emily could say or do. Emily knows that reaching out would only reopen wounds that they have been trying to heal. Emily wrote in one of the unsent letters to Michael, "I'm sorry for what I did to you. I'm sorry for planning your destruction. I'm sorry for executing that plan with such precision. I'm sorry for turning the worst moment of your life into an even worse moment. But I'm also angry at you. I'm angry for what you did to me. And I don't think an apology from me would help either of us. I think we both just need to move forward. Emily wrote in one of the unsent letters to James, I'm sorry for being part of the chain of events that led to your destruction. I'm sorry for exposing your relationship in front of your family. I'm sorry for the role that I played in your pain. But I also hope that you found peace. I hope that you found stability in Thailand. I hope that you found a way to live with the knowledge that Michael didn't show up. And I hope that you can eventually forgive both Michael and me for what we did to you. Here's what I want you to understand about this story. There are no winners in situations like this. Nobody wins. Michael lost his family. Michael lost his career. Michael lost the person he loved. Michael was disowned, fired, and destroyed in front of hundreds of people. Michael had to move across the country and start his entire life over from zero. Michael will probably never fully recover from the shame of that day. James lost his family. James lost his career. James lost his country. James nearly lost his life. James spent 6 months in a psychiatric hospital. James had to move to another continent to escape the fallout from that day. James will probably never fully recover from the abandonment and the disownment that he experienced. But Emily also lost. Emily won the battle but lost the war. Emily destroyed Michael and James. But Emily also destroyed her capacity to trust. Emily destroyed Michael and James. But Emily also destroyed her ability to be in healthy relationships. Emily destroyed Michael and James. But Emily also destroyed a part of her soul that she will never get back. The cost of that original betrayal was paid by all three of them. Michael paid the cost through the destruction of his life. James paid the cost through nearly losing his life. And Emily paid the cost through the permanent damage to her capacity to trust and her ability to love. And then the cost of the revenge was paid by all three of them again. Michael paid the cost through having his worst day broadcast to everyone he loved. James paid the cost through being disowned by his family at the exact moment when he was most vulnerable. And Emily paid the cost through becoming someone she didn't recognize and through damaging her own future. If Emily could go back and do it differently, what would she do? Emily doesn't actually know. This is something that Emily's therapist has asked her repeatedly, and Emily's honest answer is always, I don't know. Emily says, I would like to say that I would handle it with grace and dignity. I would like to say that I would simply leave Michael and focus on my own healing. I would like to say that I would take the high road and move forward with my life instead of seeking revenge. Emily pauses. But the truth is, Emily continues, I might do the exact same thing. Because at that moment, when I found out about Michael and James, I was so hurt, so angry, so desperate to make them feel the pain that I was feeling, that I might not have had the wisdom to choose differently. I might not have had the emotional capacity to take the high road. I might have made the exact same choice, for the exact same reasons. This is Emily's greatest struggle. She doesn't know if she would choose differently if she could go back in time. She doesn't know if she has actually learned her lesson or if she's just been living with the consequences of a choice that she would make again. Emily's therapist asked her once, Do you think your revenge was justified? And Emily thought about this question for a long time before answering. I think my anger was justified, Emily said. I think my desire for them to face consequences for what they did was justified. I think my need for validation, for everyone to see that I was the victim and they were the wrongdoers, was justified. But, the therapist asked. But, Emily said, I think the way I acted on that anger was not justified. I think the calculated cruelty was not justified. I think spending 3 weeks planning someone's destruction was not justified. I think there was a difference between letting people know the truth and planning a theatrical destruction of 2 human beings. So here's what I want to ask you in the comments section right now, and I need you to really think about this. Have you ever been betrayed by someone you loved? Have you ever been cheated on? Have you ever had your best friend betray you? Because if you have, you know the specific pain that Emily felt. You know what it's like to have your 2 most trusted people destroy you simultaneously. Have you fantasized about revenge? Have you planned it out in detail? Have you imagined the look on their faces when you expose them? Have you daydreamed about destroying them in front of everyone they love? Because if you have, you're not alone. The desire for revenge is one of the most natural human responses to betrayal. But here's the real question that I want you to sit with. If you actually had the opportunity to do what Emily did, to expose them publicly, to destroy them completely, to watch them suffer, would you actually do it? And if you did, do you think it would actually make you feel better? Rate this story from 0 to 10. Tell me if it resonated with you. Tell me if you've been betrayed. Tell me if you understand the desire for revenge. Tell me if you think Emily was right to do what she did. Tell me if you think Emily's revenge was justice or cruelty, or both. But most importantly, tell me this. What's the difference between justice and healing? And can you actually have one without the other? Because here's what I want you to understand. Betrayal is one of the worst things that can happen to you. You have the absolute right to be angry. You have the right to want justice. You have the right to expose them. You have the right to hold them accountable for what they did. But revenge comes at a cost. Revenge costs you your peace. Revenge costs you your ability to trust. Revenge costs you your future happiness because you're too busy focused on their past destruction. Revenge costs you a part of your soul that you might never get back. Michael and James both made terrible choices. Michael lied to Emily for 6 months. Michael betrayed her trust. Michael was planning to leave her at the altar. Michael treated her like she was disposable. James betrayed a 20-year friendship. James looked Emily in the eyes and lied to her every single day. James was complicit in Michael's deception. But Emily's revenge didn't undo any of that. Emily's revenge didn't make Michael's lies disappear. Emily's revenge didn't undo the 6 months of deception. Emily's revenge didn't heal Emily. Emily's revenge just spread the pain around and made it bigger. Subscribe to this channel. Turn on notifications. Because there are so many stories like this one. Stories about betrayal. Stories about revenge. Stories about what happens when good people decide to become monsters in the name of justice. Stories about how the desire for revenge can consume you entirely and prevent you from ever healing. And if you're in Emily's situation right now, if you've just discovered that your fiancé is cheating on you with your best friend, I want you to know what your real options are. You can expose them. You absolutely can. You have every right to. But understand the cost before you do it. Understand that exposing them might feel satisfying in the moment, but it won't heal you. Understand that watching them suffer won't undo your pain. You can leave them and cut off contact. You can move on and build a better life without them. You can process the pain through therapy and heal yourself instead of destroying them. You can do both, expose them and heal yourself. But understand that exposing them won't heal you. Only therapy, time, and genuine work on yourself will heal you. But whatever you do, please don't do what Emily did. Please don't spend 3 weeks planning someone's destruction. Please don't become someone you don't recognize in the name of revenge. Please don't sacrifice your own future happiness for the temporary satisfaction of watching someone else suffer. Your healing matters more than their suffering. Your future matters more than their pain. Your peace matters more than their destruction. Your capacity to trust again matters more than your need to make them feel what you felt. Choose yourself. Choose healing. Choose to move forward instead of getting even. Choose the hard path of therapy and self-work instead of the easy path of revenge. Because the cost of revenge is always higher than you think. And the person you destroy most is always yourself. I'll see you next time.